So, is life better BC or AC? Do you prefer BC or AC? Which life is better? BC. Means before caffeine or after caffeine? Okay, so I think most two are here. Let's just be silent for 1 minute and then we'll continue. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. So, just to check in, how are you doing? Are you okay? Is this making sense to you, all these things? Hope it's useful for you and you have some takeaway which you can apply in your life. That's the important thing, is to be able to use it in your life so it makes a difference to you, your family, your work colleagues. So we looked earlier at where we need to pay attention in order to make changes. I'd like to show you a little image here, which some of you may be aware of why we pay attention to the inner world. So it's a little bit similar to what we mentioned earlier. It's about the outer world and the inner world. So if we start from the bottom right-hand corner, world here represents your personal world. The people in your life, the places you go to, the situations you find yourself in. And we all want to improve our world. But the question arises, how come your world is the way it is? And this shows us, the circle just above that, the actions and behavior you have done in the past have created your current reality, your current world. So, for example, maybe you chose 20 years ago to move to this city. You did that action. So the people in this world in this city are part of your world. Maybe you chose to marry some person. That person's family also became part of your world. So actions and behavior of the past have created my current reality. Okay, so why did I choose to do certain actions and behaviors? What was influencing that? And this brings us to the next circle here, which is your inner state. Your sthiti, your inner condition, your emotional state. Or simply put, the way you were feeling. Now I think that human beings are emotional beings well before we are rational beings. I think most of what we do is driven by how we feel about things. And in history we see people have done amazing things because they felt very strongly about it. People have also done terrible things because they felt very strongly about something. So our emotional state is driving a large part of our choices and our decisions. So what influences that? Why is your inner state the way it is? And this then shows us our vision. In other words, the way you see things. How you see things will affect how you feel about them. So the old example, are you a half glass full person or are you a half glass empty person? And in practical life, suddenly those situations come in front of you where you see one or you see the other. And we looked earlier at how the power of your vision influences how you feel about things. your drishti, and eventually your srishti. So then the question is, why do you see things the way you see them? How come you see this as half full, and I say, no, it's half empty? You say it's white, I say it's black. You say it's right, I say it's wrong. You can see this in a home between two people, in an office, and at the highest levels of leadership in the world. How can two people see the same thing with polar opposite views? And that is then connected to a person's attitude. Now, attitude contains your thought patterns and also your value system. And each one of us is carrying a value system. How do you know what somebody values? Quick question for you. What is the indicator of somebody's values? That's a good one. How they behave when they're alone, when nobody's watching. Okay. Yeah, those things influence that. But in simple terms, I would say your values are indicated by what you give your time to, what you give your energy to, what you give your life to. So for example, some people, the thing they value the most in their life is their job. They'll spend hours and hours and hours working, even not seeing their family properly, even to the detriment of their health. Their job is the number one thing, therefore they give so much value to it. For some people, their family is the most important thing. Somebody may offer them double pay to move to another city. No, my family is, I need to be with my kids, I need to be with my wife, my mother, my father. My family is more important to me than money. So for him or her, family is his value. For somebody else, their religion is more important. They'll do anything to follow their religious path, even take a pay cut or, give up certain things. So each one of us is carrying a value system, which is manifest in how we are spending our time, our energy, and also our money. So then the question arises, well, what influences your attitude? And this brings us to the very core of your inner universe. And this is the most important word in human language. The word smriti, or awareness. Whatever you place in your awareness is going to cause a chain reaction, and it will cascade down into your world, your life. So self-awareness or spiritual study is about working on this part. What information have I placed in my awareness about myself? Who am I? About life, the laws of life, what is right, what is wrong, what is justice, how to behave with people, about the Supreme. All these aspects, what am I carrying in my awareness, which is automatically causing this chain reaction? So when it comes to doing an upgrade of the mind, this is where to work on. And the question we start with, there are many things to discuss, but where we start with is, how do I see myself? Who am I? And I believe that that's the most important question which each human being needs to explore in their lives. The beginning of the solution to everything is asking the question, who am I? And giving a better answer to this question. So let's explore this a little bit more and see how we identify ourselves, how we answer this question. So mostly, if you ask somebody, who are you? What would they say? Name, yeah. Profession and designation, yes. Yeah, okay. All the labels. But usually mostly people say their job, their nationality, maybe their religion, maybe some position they have in society. Let's say you ask 5 people to write down the answer, who am I? One will say, who am I? Well, I'm a mechanic or a doctor or a lawyer. So he or she wrote that. Somebody else wrote, I'm a mother. That's who I am. I'm a mother. Somebody else wrote, I am Indian. Went for the nationality. Somebody else said something else, their religion. I'm Hindu, Muslim, Christian, etc. Somebody else put something else, maybe a supporter of a team or some special cause they do. So one is identified with the nationality or the gender or the profession or the religion, etc. So this is how we identify ourselves. But today, pretty much everyone is lost in the doing and the having zones. They will say what they do, which is the job, and related to the job, roles, responsibilities, relationships. Or they will talk about what they have, their nationality, their family, certain possessions, status, property, financial condition, etc. And when you identify with the things that you do or the things that you have, this generates this slippery, slimy, shape-shifting creature which is responsible for all our problems, and that is ego. Yeah? Ego is the result of identifying with what I do and what I have. And once the ego is generated, then there will be ego-based emotions. And all those difficult emotions we don't like, anger, anxiety, fear, jealousy, revenge, all that, these are all the children of ego. Now we can live in the ego zone and we'll always be experiencing these difficult emotions. Or we can ask ourselves, is there more to me than this? I am not what I do. I am not what I have. I do a job, but I am not a job. Today people have become the job. For example, your first day at work, you may say, I work as a, let's say, bank manager, bank supervisor. I work as this. We are separate. After some time, I am this. I am a manager. I am boss. I am something. Yeah, I'm merging into it. Exactly. Temporarily. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I mean, sense of responsibility is good, but actually, if we can hold another set of slides, we're going to look at that. But another big one is nationality. Now, do you have a passport? What does it say on your passport? Indian. So you have a passport, but are you a passport? No. Your nationality is Indian, but you are much more than a nationality. You are a spiritual energy. But what we have done today and all over the world, we've put the passport into my consciousness. And I have become a passport now. And when I see you, I want to know, which passport are you? Okay? So today when people are passport conscious, nationality conscious, it's another cause of collision or sometimes, oh, these people are my friends. But it's a label. It's an identity label. And you are much, much more than a job label, a nationality label, even a gender label, even a race label. You are the being. And that being part is what we call as Atma, or as the soul, the inner being, the inner self. And what's important is to live as that. As you pass through the day-to-day life, think about that. Who am I? Who is behind all of this? Let me illustrate an example. Let's say this is my pen. So I'm using the word, this is my pen, which means the pen is separate to me. Now I may say, this is my hand. So the hand is not me. The hand is separate to me. The hand belongs to me. So who is this me who is saying, my hand? That we have to know. I may say, this is my arm. Who does this arm belong to? To me. So who is me? I am not the arm. Arm belongs to me. These are my legs, my heart, my kidneys, my lungs. Put them all together, this is my body. Who is saying my body? Who is the owner of this body? Soul. Now we know this, but it's not enough to know or to accept or to believe. It's about living it. As you pass through the day-to-day life, be aware, I am the soul. Not I have a soul, I am a soul. I am that living energy, the conscious being. As you're walking, as you're interacting, you're eating, you're talking, be aware, and that is known as living in soul awareness, or living in soul consciousness. And that is the practice which really changes everything. This kind of image I like very much. Try to hold that image of yourself as the soul energy, that point of light which resides inside the brain. See yourself as the soul who is acting, performing through the body. When you practice to be soul conscious rather than role conscious, label conscious, it is the game changer. Your self-respect becomes very strong. Emotionally you become very stable. Your capacity to understand becomes deeper. And this is a lifelong practice. Why? Because we are living in label conscious, in role consciousness so deeply we don't even realize it. I would say the human race is currently passing through a global identity crisis. If you want some proof, just go and turn on the news and you see human beings are lost. Lost. All the conflicts, the collisions, the arguments, it just indicates humanity is asleep. Asleep in role and label consciousness. The question is for the self, how can I wake up and stay awake? Meditation reminds us of that. Why we meditate, I take some time out to experience my true self. Now, here's another image to give an idea of how we can live, especially in our busy lives. So, how to practice these things in city life. City people are busy, we're dealing with lots of things. So here are some of the areas in which we invest our time and our energy. So work is obviously a big one for many people, takes up a large chunk of the day. Another one is being with family, handling family roles and responsibilities, attending family occasions and so on. Being with your friends, some leisure activities, study, and maybe a few others. So there could be some more, but generally these are the main areas where we are investing our time and our energy. And what tends to happen is that we jump from one to the other to the other. And it may end up looking a bit like this. It's like a monkey jumping around in the branches of a tree. Now I'm at work, now I have to do some family occasion, or my friends are calling me, then back to work, and there's some study, and now this, and now the other. And after a while, a person may feel a bit tired, a bit exhausted, and maybe burnt out. Now, a question for you. What's missing in this model of life? Clarity? Yes. Yeah. The question is, where am I? All of these things are doing things or having things. But where is the being part? Where am I? I got lost in the world of doing and having. So here is an alternative that we would suggest. You still have your roles, responsibilities, relationships. It's not about rejecting or running away to the mountains or the jungle. But right at the center of your life is me. I put myself at the center of my life. Just like, some of you work for big corporations, there's a communication system. There's an authority levels. Things are organized. So too, can I be organized in how I use the energy of my consciousness? So the suggestion here is this. Be at the center of your life. From there, go to work. Do your job. Do it well. Excel. Be the best you can. But don't get lost in your job. You are not a job. Return back to yourself. Be with your family. Love them. Take care of them. Look after them. But also know those are roles. Mother, father, husband, wife, child. Those are also roles that you play. Come back to your eternal role, your spiritual role. Don't even get lost in your relationships. With all the things, your work, your study, or whatever you do it. Live your life, but come back to yourself. That practice we try to show as the form of coming back to your quiet space, but we can take it further when we practice meditation, and we'll close with a meditation after a while. That really helps you to recharge your inner battery. When you are lost in the world of doing, battery gets discharged, we get tired. We say, my patience has run out. I'm upset. I can't tolerate. Why? Because the energy is being wasted. So this is telling us, find moments in the day when you can practice coming back to your quiet space. Some of you may know we do this thing called traffic control for the mind. Has anybody heard about that? Or maybe some of you do it already. But it's a great analogy. So think of the traffic in the street. If there were no traffic lights at all, there'd be complete chaos. So traffic lights help to regulate the traffic in the street. In the same way, how about the traffic in your mind? Thought traffic. Is it flowing? Is it orderly? Is it coordinated? Is it organized? Or is there a traffic jam in my mind? Thinking of yesterday and tomorrow, he should have, they shouldn't have, why didn't I, this, all those things. Thoughts going in different directions at the same time, creating a traffic jam. Now, do you enjoy traffic jams? Not at all. But one car parked in the wrong place can block 100 other cars. So much time, energy, petrol is wasted. One waste thought, one useless thought, one negative thought can block the flow of my happiness, my peace, my creativity, my productivity. So traffic control is like taking a few minutes during the day, maybe every 2 hours, if you can, to just stop, just withdraw your mind from the doing mode, just come to the being mode, come to that quiet space inside yourself, and just be in that awareness. I am peace. I am a peaceful being. I'm a peaceful soul. Come to the quiet room. And that allows the peace in you to emerge. Thoughts slow down. And then you come back to your meeting or whatever you're doing with greater clarity and balance. For us, generally, we do it for about 3 minutes every couple of hours or so. And if you're new to this, it helps to fix times which work for you personally, according to your daily schedule. You may be doing shift work, for example, but try to find every couple of hours, a few minutes, to practice this traffic control. Experiment for 1 week. And see how you feel at the end of that 1 week. And usually people report, I feel a lot more peaceful, I find my emotions are more in my control, I am more energetic than before. And then it tends to become part of the daily life. Now, is that possible to do? Yeah? Please experiment and then send your results to sister who was here, and she'll check you, give you a mark out of 10. Is that okay? All right. So let's look at another thing here. We mentioned a little bit about... is this going to play? Yeah, we mentioned about ego, how the ego is created, and why it's responsible for all those difficult emotions. You've heard of the ecosystem, the flora and fauna and the climate. That's good to know about that, but there's also the ecosystem we have to understand. The ecosystem inside impacts the ecosystem outside. So how is this thing create this thing called ego? Well, it's connected to understanding our identity. So the first thing that happens, as we mentioned earlier, is we create labels of identification as we pass through life, from birth to death, from cradle to grave, from womb to tomb. We acquire lots and lots of labels, and we give labels to each other. So the first stage of this labeling system is called association. You associate with a particular label. So somebody says, okay, this person is born, it's a boy, it's a girl. And then come some of the other labels which we also have mentioned. The nationality label, the religion label. maybe some position or status you have in an organization, maybe you're a general secretary, president of a certain club. Of course, the family label, you become somebody's husband or wife and mother, father, etc. And the job label. So here are some of the main ones. And what then happens, stage 2, and this is really where all the problems start, is where we form an identity based on those labels. Initially, labels outside of me, associate. But then, second step, surreptitiously, without even realizing, I'm absorbing those labels into my consciousness. I am beginning to identify with those labels. And without knowing, I am basing my self-worth, my self-value upon those labels. So here come a few more. In different parts of the world, the tribe, the caste, the social class, roles, responsibilities, family traditions, rituals, career status. We find ourselves in the midst of all of this, and it is entering into my consciousness. And as I absorb all of those labels into my consciousness, I am becoming distant from my spiritual identity without even realizing it. And then comes stage 3, which is we form a full-blown attachment to those labels. Now, somewhere at the roots of all suffering, you will find attachment. When I create a mental attachment to something or someone or even to an idea, if something happens to that, I will suffer. Now, let's see how this happens with people. Usually, in relationships, we all exist in 2 places. So you exist physically where you are, but then you also exist in my perception of you. So what happens? I may meet you for a little while, but I also create my perception of you, and I become busy in building and feeding my perception of you. And that perception continues to grow and grow and grow, and you may actually be very different to my perception of you. Then when you behave differently to my perception of you, I get upset with you. I'm saying, what gives you the right to behave differently to my perception of you? I become attached to my perception of you. See, in my mind there is perception, but out here is the reality. I am colored by my perception. This happens all the time. I'll come to you in just a second. This happens all the time in relationships, how we create perceptions. Now, all of these labels here are changeable. They are not permanent. Even the relationship label. Let's say, for example, you are somebody's mother or father. Does that change? I'm getting a few shakes of the head. Well, there's 2 things here. Yeah, that's right. There's 2 things here. One is biologically doesn't change. So let's say you're 30 and your child is 5 years old. So you are a parent and your child is your child. And then later on in life, let's say you're 70 and your child is 45, your child may be like a parent for you. So physically you're still the parent, but in terms of relationship, the dynamic is changing. This is one of the problems in relationships. I am attached to my label, and I don't want to let it go. You see this most easily with teenagers, 15, 16, 17-year-old, and I think I am still mother or father, trying to treat as my child. And the 17-year-old says, I'm not a baby anymore. Stop treating me like, stop trying to control me. So there, a wise parent will know, as the child is going through an identity change, I also have to adjust. Not only parent, but maybe becoming more of a friend, perhaps. Life is a river, and rivers flow. If I stand still in the river, I will experience pressure. When we experience pressure in relationships, it's because I'm not flowing properly. My mind is holding on or is attached to something about someone, and that's the problem. So this attachment is such a deep thing we don't realize we form it. And all of these things together is what we call as spiritual pollution. The spirit has been polluted with all these ego identities, all these labels. And as long as that pollution is there, there will be toxicity in our life. If I want to be free from that, then we have to work on removing this ego. Now, how do you fight with ego? Has anyone done that? Well, the answer is they say, don't fight the ego. But look, ego is a form of darkness. How do you get rid of darkness? Yeah, you switch on the light, right? Dissolve, okay? Yeah. So you switch on the light and the darkness disappears. So it's not a question of fighting ego, but what is the light? What light we have to switch on inside so this ego begins to disappear. Yeah, right. Let's have a look at the next set of slides to help us to understand how that works. All right, this is really another way of showing what we have just seen. So we live in a world of ego masks. We create these ego masks inside ourselves as we pass through life. And I'm showing these ego masks by this letter I. I am from such and such a place. I am son or daughter of so-and-so. I was educated at such as a university. I have this position in an organization. I this, I that, I the other. Different forms of ego. Or we call them as ego masks. And as you see, some are bigger and some are smaller. The size of the ego mask depends on how much you are feeding it. So someone who thinks of himself as his job, that becomes the big ego mask. Someone who thinks of himself only as his nationality, that becomes the big one. So on and so forth. And as life goes on, more and more and more, ego masks enter into our awareness. So we become filled with these ego masks, all floating around inside our awareness. Now, what happens when one or another of your ego masks is threatened? For example, let's say you are a good cook. Now, any good cooks here? 1, 2, come on, be honest, don't be so humble. Alright, there's a few. I'm sure there's more. So let's say you're a good cook, and we all come to your house one day to have lunch. And you have spent hours and hours cooking. But also you became proud of being a good cook, a little bit arrogant. You made it into an ego mask for yourself. Now, it's good to be a good cook, but don't become arrogant about it. But you made it an ego mask. So we come and we start eating, and we find the food terrible. We say, oh, that's horrible, how could you make that? Even we spit it out a little bit. Now, how might you feel if this were to happen? Angry, yeah? Or maybe upset, maybe embarrassed. Or you may say, there is the door, you can go now. Yeah? In other words, there would be some kind of emotional reaction. Whether it's feeling embarrassed, very upset, ashamed, or it's the other way, angry and aggressive, an emotional reaction. An emotional reaction is the result of an ego mask feeling threatened. The bigger the ego mask is, the bigger the I is, the bigger is the emotional reaction. Let's say I'm a very educated person. I've been to the top universities in the world and many letters after my name. Okay, it's good. But then I made it an ego mask. I am a very educated man. I know everything. And then somebody comes and criticizes an idea of mine. Oh, how dare you, young man, how dare you talk like that? Get yourself educated before you talk to me. So there I became egocentric about my education. I have a high IQ but a low EQ. I don't know how to handle criticism or insults. So we can develop these ego masks about everything. Our appearance, the family we are from, our financial status, some talent you have, maybe you're good in sports, maybe you're good in language, everything. Ego masks are the problem. And all these emotional reactions will happen, ups and downs, as long as these ego masks are there. So what to do? When you find yourself drowning in the ocean of ego masks, what to do? Well, here comes the good news. Behind all of these ego masks, there is the true self, the real I, the eternal I, which is your spiritual identity. That is, you are the Atma, you are the soul, the living being. That has been hidden covered underneath all of the ego masks. So the thing to do to make this inner upgrade is to start living as the spiritual energy, as the soul, rather than as the ego masks. Again and again reminding myself, I am the spiritual being, I am a soul, I am that living inner energy. And furthermore, you realize that all of the things you're looking for through the ego masks are already inside you. Peace is the nature of the human soul. Shanti is swadharam. Atmaka swadharam hai shanti. It is there, it has to be watered and brought out. Joy is there, love is there, all these things, strength, wisdom, security, but they are like seeds inside the true self. How do you make seeds germinate? How to pour water. What is that water? Water is awareness, being aware of these things. The more you are soul aware, or the more you are soul conscious, what's going to happen is your need for feeling secure is going to come from inside you rather than holding on to these ego masks. So these ego masks will begin to dissolve. And the sign that they are dissolving is you find yourself becoming more emotionally stable. Maybe before, if somebody criticized you, you got very upset or very angry. But now it's like water off a duck's back. It doesn't bother you anymore. Somebody makes a little comment to make you feel a little upset, but now it doesn't matter. It's okay. It doesn't even bother you. Before you failed at something and used to get really, emotional about it. Now you quickly learn the lesson, you move on. So the sign the ego masks are going is greater emotional stability. Your peace and happiness becomes natural for you. Of course, it takes time. And a word of caution, the smaller ego masks are easier to deal with. The big ones, they will box with you. They will fight you. They will wrestle with you. It takes time. But this is called the inner battle. The battle to overcome the ego masks I have created. But eventually, as the journey continues, you do reach this place. That is known as freedom. Clean. Freedom from what? Freedom from being upset. Freedom from being caught in the comparison game. I'm comparing my value with the value of others. Freedom from the competition game. Mentally I'm competing with other people. Freedom from inferiority, superiority swing. All those things you feel free from. Your dignity is in your own hands. And further benefits, what is in you begins to come out of you. Your whole consciousness becomes filled with that peace, that love, that joy. You become a peaceful person, a loveful person, a joyful person. Not because of something or someone, but it's who you are. That's what you carry around with you. And then from you radiate that out into your family, your workstation, your colleagues, your friends, even your enemies become your friends. When you're carrying around this positive energy inside you. That's called living from inside out. Normally people live outside in. Subconsciously they're trying to get respect, attention, appreciation, praise from others. The mind is fishing for these things, which indicates an inner vacuum. But when you emerge these things from inside, you radiate them outward. It's the inside-out lifestyle. And that is what we call as having a personality like a diamond. Do you like diamonds? I think everybody likes diamonds. But just to end off, I love this analogy of a diamond personality. Because on the one hand, a diamond is a very beautiful thing. Anyone who sees a diamond, whether it's a child or old person or educated, uneducated, would see it's a wonder of nature. But at the same time, diamond is the toughest substance in the world. So our personality should be kind, be loving, be pleasant, be positive, but inside, your self-esteem should be so strong, nobody can upset you. Nobody can give you sorrow. Nobody can push you around on the inside. Inner strength and outer softness. Like an iron hand wearing a velvet glove. That's a spiritual personality or a diamond personality. And such a person becomes very, very, very useful to everyone in their lives. Your presence will be like a present to the people you are with. Okay, we're going to wrap up there, and we're going to end again with a short meditation. Okay? All right, so once again you may just have your back straight, your feet on the floor. So this meditation is to experience true self. You have the image of the point of light here? It's there, okay. So if you wish, you may want to experiment with your eyes open, if it's comfortable for you. And that image of the point of light is a symbol of the soul. So once again, I start by asking myself, who am I? Behind the masks and the labels, who am I? Behind all the roles I play, who am I? Behind all the responsibilities I carry, who am I? There is more to me than all of these labels, roles, and masks. And even when I look in the mirror, I see the reflection of my face, my body. But there is more to me than just this. I want to know, I want to experience my true, my deepest self. And so I bring my attention up to my face, and to the center of my forehead. And here I picture a beautiful star of peaceful light. A wonderful star of peaceful energy at the center of the forehead. And from here, rays of peaceful and healing energy radiates throughout my body. this living star of peaceful light in the center of my forehead. This is me. This is I, the eternal soul. I, the soul, I am light. I, the soul, I am peaceful. I, the soul, I am eternal. I can never die. I, the soul, I give life to this physical body. I am the life inside this body. I am peace. I am light. I am eternal. I am silent. And now keeping this peaceful property, my original property, I return to the awareness of this room here. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Brother Yogesh, for giving such a beautiful and divine session. Yes, in Brahma Kumaris, if we want to clap for someone, we wave like this, without any noise. It's more of a representation of my blessings to you. Shall we do it together? To Yogesh brother, and Yogesh brother will do to you, to everyone. This is another way of clapping for us. Thank you so much. Once again, shall we wave our clappings to each other and to Brother Yogesh? Thank you so much.
Recognize the truth. Do you feel the love that's